Hello and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks. I'm your geology teacher, Jen, and it's time for Monday Musings. Today starts a new topic because we're now in June. So, happy June, everyone. We're going to talk about basically the beginnings of major mountain building. Mountains that we are familiar with. Not these particular ones, these ones are later orogeny. But if you, say, live on the east coast of the US, or in Scotland, or in Scandinavia, you may be familiar with these super old mountains I'm going to talk about. So the Silurian period started at the end of the Ordovician period, 443.8 million years ago, and ended at the beginning of the Devonian period, 419.2 million years ago. This was a time of rising seas as the Ordovician glaciers melted. If you watched my Ordovician videos, you'll recall that these glaciers caused a mass extinction at the end of the Ordovician period. Now, because the glaciers were melting, it caused the sea level to rise so much that new marine environments were created, including many warm, shallow seas as deep ocean basins closed because continents were coming together. These warm, shallow seas allowed the first coral reefs to form. Now, at the beginning of the Silurian period, a large ocean sat over the North Pole, while Gondwana was still pretty much over the South Pole. And then fragmented land masses such as Laurentia, Avalonia, and Baltica hovered around the equator. There wasn't a huge variety in topography at this time, but there was a significant mountain building event throughout the entire period. We call it the Caledonian orogeny, named for the Latin name for Scotland. And it was the convergence of Avalonia, Baltica, and Laurentia. This happened in a series of phases: the Grampian orogeny, the docking of eastern Avalonia with Baltica, the Scandian orogeny, and the Akkadian orogeny. Don't worry, I'm going to talk a little bit about each of these. Alright, so the Grampian orogeny was the result of Laurentia, or North America, colliding with an ocean island arc, which is now Scotland and northern Western Ireland. And this collision actually occurred in the Middle Ordovician at about the same time as the Taconic orogeny, which was an early mountain building event in New England that began the Appalachians. At the end of the Ordovician, eastern Avalonia and Baltica collided in a much more gentle convergence called a docking. This created what is called the Trans-European Suture Zone from the North Sea, close to Denmark, through parts of the Baltic Sea, close to Poland, and then follows the eastern Carpathian Mountains of the Ukraine to the Black Sea. Then, as we get into the early Silurian until about the mid-Devonian, the Scandian phase occurred. This was the result of the Fennoscandian Peninsula colliding with Greenland. It also created thrusting in the northern highlands of Scotland and the Outer Hebrides. Lots going on. The final phase occurred during the Devonian period. This is the Akkadian orogeny, and it was the final mountain building event for the Appalachian Mountains. It also involved connecting England and Wales to the rest of Great Britain. They were part of Avalonia rather than the island arcs. Altogether, this orogeny was the start of building the great central Pangaean mountains that would exist from the Carboniferous through the Triassic period. Big mountain chain that had a huge effect on the climate of Pangaea. But we'll get to that point when Pangaea actually exists. For now, thanks for coming to today's lesson, and tune in tomorrow to participate in some trivia. Fossilize you later!